Donald Trump has already been in office as well. If he was going to be a fascist, if he was going to take over the country, he's going to be a dictator, he's going to be Hitler, then he'd already been Hitler.
Everyone I don't like is literally Hitler.
In the final days of the presidential election, the Kamala Harris campaign is floundering. They're losing support. They're down in the polls. And now, of course, what's she doing? Calling Trump Hitler and a fascist. And when you start doing that in your campaign, you stop laying out your vision for the future. That's when you know you're done. When you go really negative, it means you have no other arguments, okay? And that's exactly what we're going to see today on Piers Morgan Uncensored. But before we get to the clips, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America.
And I think it's such a ridiculous act of self-harm to constantly compare, well, A, to constantly talk only about your opponent, as you say, but also to keep comparing him to the most genocidal monster that the modern world has ever seen. Because even if you hate Trump with a passion, he's not Adolf Hitler. So most people in the middle who are not tribally attached to one side of the go, well, he's not Hitler and they're not the Nazis. So if you're going to call him this all the time, it puts me off.
Well, I personally don't think that the comparison to fascism is illegitimate at all. My problem is the fact that John Kelly, every day he remained in the White House, legitimized the Trump presidency. The time to talk about all this was years ago, literally. And the fact that they didn't sound the alarm when they should have, I believe, is what's making it now kind of like, oh, he's not Hitler. He was president before. We survived. Our democracy survived. And once again, like you're saying, it's not working. Stop talking about Trump. Talk about voters and what they need and the America that we could create, that the Democratic Party should stand for over the next 4 years. That's what she should be hammering every single hour of every single day over the next 2 weeks.
Right. But Brandon Tatum, here's the problem. I don't think she knows how to articulate what her vision for America is. Every time I've seen any long, more substantive interview with her where she's asked about what she really has planned to run the country, she just falls apart. I mean, I'm nothing against her. I met her once. She's perfectly nice. She's obviously intelligent, done very well with herself, excellent in the Senate and so on and so on. But at some point, if you're going to run the United States of America, the leader of the free world, you've got to articulate actually what you're going to do. And she just cannot do that in a way that, to me, is resonating at all. Hence the constant pivoting to Trump bashing, because on that, they're on safer ground, they think.
Well, Piers, I'll tell you this. A wise man has said, you can never trust a person that promised you something that they're going to do tomorrow that they could have done yesterday. These people have been in office and they've been feckless. Donald Trump has already been in office as well. If he was going to be a fascist, if he was going to take over the country, he's going to be a dictator, he's going to be Hitler, then he'd already been Hitler. So you could believe them for what their track record has shown. And I think Donald Trump actually has a plan for the people. And I think it's genuine. That's why he's connecting. He's not connecting because he's so brilliant. He's an older man. He's slowing down. He's connected because he genuinely believes it. Not Hillary Clinton, but Kamala Harris is not connected because they don't really care. I do not believe they care about the middle class people. I don't think they really care about the individuals who are struggling or suffering and things that they could actually address. They do not have a plan for you. Mm-hmm. And I wish that America would wake up. The only reason that they're polling close to Donald Trump is because of propaganda. Major news outlets are just pumping lies. I see them every day. Lies about abortion, lies about Trump sending the military against the American people. I mean, it's just straight lies that they're pushing. That's the only reason they're close.
So Marianne Williamson, despite making the ridiculous claim that it's fair to say that Donald Trump is a fascist, actually makes a pretty good point in that, yes, John Kelly had years to bring these allegations out, to inform and enlighten the American people. But he didn't. And that's how you know it's a bunch of garbage, right? Whatever they've got on him, he's out there saying it now. He's got to sell a book. He's got to get his next gig, whatever the case may be. But Brandon Tatum actually raises up the best point possible. Donald Trump was already in office. If he was going to act like a fascist, act like a dictator, act like Hitler, he was going to do it already. But he didn't. Instead, we had unprecedented growth and prosperity and freedom in this country. He even backed off all of the crazy leftist cities and allowed them to riot it. He offered the National Guard, but all those crazy leftist governors said, nah, we're okay. We don't want it. We want to let people have the opportunity to have their days of rage. Okay, that was, of course, what they did. But Brandon Tatum brings up another interesting idea as well, and that's the simple fact that, yes, Donald Trump is actually relatable. As an 80-year-old, incredibly famous billionaire, the American people relate to him. They connect with him because he's actually truthful. He's honest. He talks to everyone the way he'll talk to anyone else, okay? And everyone who actually meets him in person actually says that, yes, it's amazing. The person you see on camera is basically the same person you're seeing behind the camera, except for he actually cares more. He's interested in you. He's interested in your family, in your business, right? Versus Kamala Harris, who would come out and say, you know what? I've got a little feigned empathy. I'm sorry your family was murdered. That's terrible. I'm sorry you have no money in the bank. That's awful. Now I'm not going to do anything about it, okay? And of course, she's been the one in power for the last several years. And has she done anything? No. So we have no reason to believe she will in the future. So that, of course, is the two main points. Donald Trump was already in power and he didn't act like a fascist. Kamala Harris has been in power and she hasn't helped anyone. So, of course, we can all learn from our past experiences.
And I would say one thing about this that people should start considering, because the outcome, as we've been discussing, is unknown, but we're just literally days away. I think the takeaway from this election that is going to be looked at for a long time if the Democrats lose, and the history that will be made, is circumventing the democratic system by actually not allowing the democracy to choose the next leader after Biden was stepped aside or was pushed aside, whatever you want to call it. What would be a huge mistake if she loses, because she was not a successful candidate in 2019. She was not a successful candidate in 2020. And if she's not a successful candidate now, it'll be because the same reason that 88% of investment advisors can't beat the S&P 500, Obama can't beat the index that is made by his own democracy, his own Democratic convention. He picked her. Maybe Hillary Clinton picked her. Maybe some movie stars picked her. We simply don't know. She was anointed, and if she fails, it's their fault.
Yeah.
And they're going to own it. And it happened to Hillary Clinton, too. I remember I was there in Pittsburgh when she was anointed, and Bruce Springsteen sat on the stage and sang about, boy, it's going to be great while she's president, and she got smoked.
Yeah.
And that she was also an anointment, so I think that's got to stop. They got to stop trying to pick stocks and let the actual party decide.
First of all, she shouldn't have been an affirmative action hire the first time. They should have gotten a qualified black woman that was very successful, very intelligent, that can add value to the presidency when Joe Biden chose his running mate. They didn't. They just picked a black woman. And I think they picked the wrong one. And then you go down the list and say, okay, now that Joe Biden dropped out in the 11th hour, they just put her in there. She's incredibly unpopular. She's incredibly unintelligent. This woman is a terrible candidate. She laughs and she cannot articulate a clear sentence about her policy positions. And then she gets on the campaign trail and runs on, I'm a woman. I'm going to do this for black people. Ma'am, you have never done anything for black people, and you're not a clear representation of a good quality woman. And we can go over her history, but I'll save that for another time. But these people are patronizing young black men. Obama comes out and says, well, y'all are against women. That's why you don't want to. No, we're not stupid anymore. We're sick of these people promising things that they're never going to deliver on. And Kamala Harris at the 11th hour is now rolling out Lizzo. Big Lizzo got on a private jet cussing and swearing, and her lyrics are degenerate. You got Eminem is degenerate. You have all of these celebrities. Those are not the average everyday person. These celebrities are not worrying about what they're going to eat in healthcare. They're extremely wealthy, and they're not connecting with the people. And that's why Donald Trump is kicking her butt. And if it wasn't for lies and deception and coercion by the media and all of that, Donald Trump will be winning by 20 points right now.
So here we have Kevin O'Leary and Brandon Tatum basically saying the same thing. Kamala Harris was basically given this nomination. Brandon Tatum essentially saying that, yes, Kamala Harris is the biggest DEI hire in the world. And we know that's true because Joe Biden actually said, hey, I want a black woman as vice president. Of course, he could have picked anyone, but he chose Kamala Harris, a woman who dropped out of the presidential race before it even started. But Kevin O'Leary makes a great point as well. There was no process to actually elect Kamala Harris as the candidate. There was nothing going on there, right? You didn't put it before the group of people to actually make the best informed decision. Instead, she was anointed. And what was that process exactly, right? all the electors that Joe Biden had can somehow magically just choose the next candidate? Because that's exactly what happened. They chose the winner, who will probably end up being the loser, I hope, in just a few more days. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.